I'm currently no longer in a relationship because of societal expectations.
Yeah.
So it hurts. Um, and it sucks because we're in a time where they say, like, oh, don't expect anything. When it'll happen, it'll happen. But in reality, there does get to a point where it's like, hey, you are too old for certain things.
Look, hell of an intro. I tell you what you in for, but I never really been the type of dude to give no info.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Walk and Grow Show. We're back with another one. Yes, I'm starting it off really early. Courtney loves that. She's like, what in the heck is going on? But we are here. This is it. Courtney and I is on the mic. We have a special guest that we're going to pick his brain a little bit more about. I know typically what we like to do is get a little bit of backstory, but I personally have had several conversations with George here, and he is one individual where him and I will go back and forth on a lot because two different mindsets. You know, that's the beautiful part about, you know, what we do here is on this platform and where we talk on the Walk and Grow Show is just to hear different mindsets. So on today's episode, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to hear a little bit about his mindset. If we go back and forth with each other too long, please give us grace and allow us just to get through the storm. But it's all for the good, it's all for the better, so that we can all challenge each other at the end of the day. But how are you guys all doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I know I'm not allowed to say good anymore. I learned my lesson. So this week we're going to go with fantastic. Yeah, but it's all good. Friday again, so no complaints.
Yes, sir.
All is well on my end. Just dealing with life.
There we go.
We good.
We got another Debbie Downer. Look at that. You see what I'm talking about?
What's wrong with saying good?
There isn't anything wrong. And see, we're kicking it off early for you guys. There is nothing wrong with saying good. I just feel as if anytime you ask anyone, how are they doing? The first question or the first response, is good. So if everyone is saying good, what does good mean? So it's like,
I don't want to talk about
it. Okay, then just say, I'm having an all right day. And if somebody says, well, you want to talk about it? I'd be like, no. But if everyone just says good, then it's just like, well, what does good really even mean? Like, are you doing fantastic? Are you doing all right? Are you having a terrible day? Like, even if someone's having a terrible day, I feel like people will say, I'm good. It's like, okay, I'll take it as is.
Honestly,
he just likes to pick on me. That's all it is.
Honestly, it's rough. It's rough right now. Going through some personal things, but that's a part of life. So that's why it's good, because it'll all work out for the good. There we go.
There you go. I mean, that gives me a little bit more clarity what your world looks like. So now I know, hey, if things aren't great for George, now I can be like, all right, well, George just clearly mentioned to me things aren't great. So maybe I should, hey, George, everything good? Maybe another phone call, a week or two, and like, hey, everything good, right? But now I'm consciously aware of what is actually occurring instead of you just mentioning, hey, I'm doing well, and I'm thinking everything's good. Everything good, gravy, you're doing your thing, but now that, you're kind of sharing a little bit, I have a little bit more context. I'm aware. I'm consciously alert of what's going on. And so I can have a better conversation next time. And that's why I harp on the good aspect. I'm excited today. I'm energetic right now. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
I can tell.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I can tell.
I woke up on the right side of the bed. What can I say?
Is that the Walk and Grow hat? Is that the Walk and Grow fitted?
No. So this is Small Good Decisions. Actually, I could give you guys a little backstory on this one because this is a mentor of mine that, and this is kind of off task, but this is a mentor of mine who actually helped me get involved in trading. And so he has this where he's very philosophical. I'm not going to try to say it. Philosophical. There we go. Thank you. And so he just has these small little like sayings, and that's his, not mine. This is a quick shout out. Go check him out. Trading Fraternity. That's his YouTube channel. If you guys want to get a little bit inside the scoop of what options and trading and stocks is like. But backstory on this, actually, I went out with a shirt that has very similar sayings to this. And I kid you not, I walk outside, it starts to drizzle, and I look back, I'm like, damn, should I do it now? I'm going on my daily walk. I look back and like, damn, should I go back or should I just continue? Actually, I could go back inside and just call it a quits, or I can go get a hoodie, or I could just keep going. I was like, I'm already here. I'm just going to keep going. And I kid you not, I looked at the shirt and I was just like, yeah, that's why we're just going to keep going. So walked through the rain this morning, and I was like, this was an interesting experience. Never did it before. Never did it before. It wasn't a terrible one, but it was just like, okay, this is, I guess, what it feels like to walk through the rain and kind of get, rain down while walking in, having your clothes on and everything. So, for that person that's outside right now or whenever, and it gets rained on, I feel for you because I've went through that experience and I can now relate on how exactly that feels. But why are you laughing at me? Like, how is that funny?
Oh no!
You want me to respond to that? No.
I do. I really do.
No, I was just going to say, first world problems where we can choose to walk in the rain. It's so nice.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that because some of the listeners, they are not all in the U.S. So, that definitely, I'm really happy that you said that because I was not thinking on that aspect. But now it's, it's relatable. So definitely thank you. But I want to kick things off. First and foremost, we all here took a personality test. I don't know if you guys realized, but that was all intentional on my end.
Okay.
To prep for this.
I'm for sure. I knew that had something to do with something.
Oh man! So I just kind of wanted to. It wasn't a setup because there's nothing bad that's gonna happen. It was just like, hey, if we all take it, and now we all have something to really talk about. It gives us context to be able to relate and have that as a resource. But based on that personality test, and the one that we're talking about today, we did the Myers-Briggs one. So if you want to go do it, by all means, go online. I think it's 16personalities.com. Go check it out. Go do your own thing. Have fun with it. Be truthful, because then it's going to really tell you a little bit about yourself. But I kind of want to hear your. Speaking of it, look at that. They just sent me an email. It's like they're hearing me right now. But speaking of your experience with the testing itself, do you think it was helpful or do you think it was like a waste of time from both of you guys? Courtney or George, whoever wants to go first.
I just don't. I don't know. I know like the type of conversations that we have and the way that I respond to things. I'm not a this or that type person. And like to me, it's like everything has so much context and everything has so much background. And like I can't answer this quite like. It's not this or that. It's like kind of, what about this context? Or what about this situation? Like, it's so hard for me to respond. And then I'm sure we'll get more into like results a little bit later, but just seeing the results and seeing like that they're even remotely similar is like, no, there's no shot that we have similar results on a personality test. So just things like that. It's kind of like, I'm probably not going to pay much attention to this. I'm not going to say anything's useless, but moving forward, it's like, I probably won't do too much with those results.
I'm the complete opposite. And I guess that's why I'm here. But it honestly shed a lot more light on how I process situations. So that for me, it was very helpful. And the reason I really like the test is because you can see people's habits. We are habitual by nature. So the test shows us some of our traits. It's not 100%, but it shows us a lot of traits that we identify, and some that we might not have been aware that we had.
That's true.
Yeah. I like taking them, but I'm on the fence with living by them. It's a great reminder. That's kind of how I look at it. It's a great reminder, see where I'm at. Because again, I think those things, depending on your decisions and your answers, they're always going to change. It's never going to be the same test. I mean, the same result every single time. So I think that is it's good to take to kind of get a reminder about who you are, where you are, and just kind of where you stand and see if there's anything that you need to work on. And what Courtney mentioned, it's, we both, I took it, she took it, and we literally had the same personality. And I told her, I said, we both agree, like, there's no way in hell this is like, yes, we may console, and that was it. We really console with others, and we kind of come from that background. But I would honestly say I think Courtney does it a little bit more than me, which probably, of course, if you look at the weightings or the percentages of it, that's where it makes sense. But I was like, yeah, no. I mean, just off rip, seeing it, I was like, I don't know about this one.
Was the percentages roughly the same for both of you and everything?
That I didn't really look too deep into on that aspect. I'm sure I can look at it. But I can already tell you, wherever the empathetic side is, Courtney got me by a long shot.
No, you're pretty empathetic. You just don't like to show it.
No. I think I know I am. I just know I'm more harsh than empathetic.
Blunt, straightforward, things like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times for you it's the language, because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I'm not empathetic, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. I'm like, yes, you are. You're just using different words, like
right.
You just, yeah.
So elaborate on that for the person in the back that doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you can be blunt with somebody, you can be straightforward with somebody and like have very direct communication and still be empathetic towards them, still be supportive, still be, just because you have this quality doesn't take away from another, from a positive one or something along those lines. I'm empathetic, but I have more difficulty communicating through like conflict or communicating, what am I trying to say? Confrontation. But that doesn't change. You know what I mean? Like we can both be the same level of empathetic and you have an easier time communicating those things. My opinion.
I've been told my empathy is like being thrown into a bucket of ice water with my words.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm not empathetic.
Like, interesting. And how'd you feel when whoever it is that told you that, like, did that make you feel any sort of way? You're just like, I guess it is what it is.
I was like, oh, that's amazing, because I want to shock you back to reality. You obviously needed it.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Okay. So what if the person's like, that's not what I wanted, though? Like, and you just literally shook their world. Then
you don't open up to me.
Hey, that's fair. That is completely fair. I guess I gotta do it for this. I gotta do it for you, bro. Like, I don't. I'll do it again for you, man. I'll do it one more time. Like, come on now. I gotta do it for you.
Yeah.
That was what an answer.
They're gonna have to come talk to me after they talk to George.
Right.
That's recovery. Yeah.
I set him up. You down. We got this.
Yeah. No, I actually had a very similar conversation to this yesterday with a friend, and I had said, we were kind of talking about like our own healing journeys and like where we're at and stuff like that. And I was saying that I was talking to a friend, and I'm like, I feel like my friends are they're sick of it. They're done with it. Like they're getting to a point where they're like, yeah, well, you're still doing the same thing, so what do you expect? Like, and to me, it's like they're running out of empathy for me. And he was like, I don't think they're, lacking empathy. I think they might be lacking patience. And to me, it's like, no, now they're mean, so it's empathy. And I know I'm dramatic about it, but it's like, no, they're just not communicating as like kindly as they used to, or like as softly with me as they used to. So for me, it's like they're not having that empathy, but in reality, it's like the empathy hasn't changed. Their personality and their ability to be compassionate towards me has not changed. It's at a point where they're like, nah, you've been doing this long enough. Like, we're not going to give you that same patience. And I also have to understand, like, I know they come from a positive place. But But yeah, I thought it was interesting that he was kind of like, I don't think it's a lack of empathy. I think it's just a lack of patience, and that doesn't change the friendship. So shout out to Alex. He'll be stoked that I'm talking about him right now. But that was it was helpful insight. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think even the understanding of aspect of it is a big piece of it. When trying to understand someone, how they operate, how they work, how they speak, how they communicate, that's a whole nother like big old thing that many of us don't take the time to at least try to understand, or maybe the person just doesn't really express it to the point where we can understand it. But it's when I think when working with different personalities in general, or at least when you're in friendship with different personalities, I would say it's extremely important to understand who that person is, and who you're talking to, so that you know exactly how to engage with them. Because I mean, you can get in fist fights. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know about you, Courtney, but I've been in plenty of them because again, it's not understanding the person. Of course, I was a troublesome kid. You didn't hear my past episodes.
I still couldn't see you fighting people.
Yeah,
But
well,
I've never gotten into a fight. Not even like rugby related where we're like literally already pushing each other. I'm still like, don't do that.
Really?
Like I'm still very passive when it comes to, I don't know, people get angry. Like if we're talking about rugby specifically, people get angry and you can tell they, get aggressive, and I'm just like, it's a game. And then I'll go do like the next thing. I don't know. I'm not an angry person. I just process anger very differently. And like when it comes to aggression, I mean, I can play hard and I can play aggressively, but like I'm not because I'm angry at the person across from me. I'm just like, okay, we have to social together after this. Like, I don't know. Like, I just process it different. I don't know. I've never been that way.
I would say that's a feminine trait that is rarely exuded. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's nice to hear that. Mm-hmm. So,
even, I mean, I had recently one of my friends was showing me there was like a fight, a big like whatever UFC, and then there was boxing or whatever. And see, I know nothing about it. So, he was showing me. He's like, look, this is what happened. And I was just kind of like,
right.
And he's like, you don't like it, huh? And I'm like, I don't want to watch people like hit each other. I just like, why do people fight? Like, I know it's a sport and like I play an aggressive sport too. So, it's kind of funny, I guess, the balance. But to me, it's like, why do we have to fight? Like, why do we have to? And I've just always been that way. Anytime I see a fight, I'm like, this is dumb. Why are people watching this? Like, why do people want to see this? But yeah, I don't know if that goes into, is that empathy? Is that compassion? Is that, I don't know, sensitivity to pain? Like, to me, it's like, yeah, there might be physical pain going on, but also, and this isn't MMA. Again, I know that's a sport, but like watching just people fight, like I know there has to be some level of emotional pain, some level of emotional like trauma or something going on that this is happening. So I don't know. I just, again, with the connection, I just connect so deeply to stuff that it's like, I can't watch.
I think more so those are the different traits between male and female. Like me personally, where I come from, us fighting was how we showed our bond. Like it wasn't personal. It wasn't to attack. It was steel sharpened steel. Like in case we get into a circumstance or an altercation where we have to defend ourselves from another group, then we just want to be on our P's and Q's essentially. But
well, that to me, and that's not to say you're wrong about the male female, but that to me sounds more like a cultural and like a upbringing type situation than a male female. Not that females did or didn't do that, but you know what I mean. Like,
well, I grew up in a predominantly white area, high school and up. Like I was one of 20 kids in a class of 600. I was one of 20 blacks. So like, I mean, I also did that when I grew up in the ghetto as well. But I just, because I've lived in different cultures and different environments, I think it's more just a guy thing. Like that's how guys bond.
Interesting. I see Ronnie's faces.
Yeah, Ronnie.
yeah.
So yeah, get ready. We about to throw
No.
them gloves.
Let's do it, bro. I'm always down. It's no bad blood. It's, hey, just like you said, to be on your
Right.
P's and Q's. And I think it could be more of a male trait, just because, not to say we are protectors, but we're more geared towards, as men, looked at to protect. So it's
Right.
like, hey, if something were to happen, I mean, I don't care who is next to me, especially if it's a woman. She's gonna look directly at me. It's like, what are you about to do? So
Right.
you have to get ready. You have to get ready to brawl or do whatever you got to do to make sure you're protecting whoever it is that you're trying to protect. So, yes, I think that's a big piece of it. And I think the part that George forgot to leave out is, if you're ready to settle a dispute, yeah, you better put the gloves on, man, because that's the best way you're gonna settle it. And at that point, hopefully, you guys can respect each other, shake hands, and kind of move on from it. But that was at least what I grew up on. It's settling disputes. That was our way. Put the gloves on. Let's let the best man win.
Yeah, I understand there are different perspectives, of course, and I understand like different reasons and things like that. I don't, I'm not ignorant to understanding those things, but I'm also fully aware that I'm a sensitive person. So, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to hear about things like that. But
and as you should, and I like to see sensitive, feminine females. Like that's an attract. No guy likes an aggressive woman. Oh, I beat your
no.
ass. Like, what guy wants that?
Oh no. What does this have to do with personality tests, Ronnie?
That's a good question, but it is a good segue into our next topic. So that's why I'm letting it go.
Well, no. All I was gonna say is I have trouble with anyone, and I have conversations like this all the time. But anyone who's like, no guy, no girl, there's no one who does this, no one who does that. To me, it's like there are people. Everyone has their own things. Everyone has their own, things that they enjoy or are attracted to. Again, this is a whole nother couple episodes I could go off, but the whole gender thing, I could go on and on. So I'll keep my mouth mostly shut. Probably.
We like the show being active and not people canceling us so soon.
That's what. Anyway,
we'll leave it for another day.
Go ahead. We'll continue the segue that we were already on.
But no, I like that you guys were talking about the social aspect of things, because of course, as you have a personality test, you take one, that's going to give you an idea possibly of how you engage or have some sort of expectations of yourself and what the society puts onto you at the same time. So I was actually, and this kind of goes hand in hand with each other, because I saw this tweet, and I'll go ahead and read it for you guys. But for those that are visual, of course, on YouTube, you guys can see it. But it says, you're pushing 20. You're not an edgy and angsty teen anymore. And that was, okay, I'm glad you saw that, Courtney. I'm glad you saw it. And I was like, wait, what is going on? And that was in reference to, I don't want to butcher her name. Please don't butcher it. It was Olivia Rodrigo, her upcoming album. I guess it was the album cover that she had. And someone made that comment. And I looked at the tweet, and I was just like, how does that have to do with anybody's age? It didn't make any sense to me. And so I really want to talk about it because, of course, in the comments, a lot of people were saying, this person's 20. Like, this person hasn't grown up yet. This person is still of age where they can talk about certain things. Everyone's giving their own opinion and thoughts on it. But I really wanted to come from the aspect of society's expectations and how is it that, you guys deal with society's outlook of you? Because at the end of the day, I know I used to do it where it's like, hey, by 30 years old, I need to have this. By 25, I need to be here. I need that. Like, we all somehow, some way did it. I was thankful enough to have someone that kind of slapped me back into reality. It was like, what are you putting a number on it for? And ever since then, I kind of just removed the number. I was like, hey, I'm working towards this goal, and that's just it. I don't care when I get it done. It's just I'm just going to control working towards the goal in itself. And so I say all this to say is really like, how is it that you guys, if you do struggle with this now. How do you guys handle like society's expectations?
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I never had like a person or anything like that to have those conversations with me. I had situations that slapped me back into, where did these expectations come from? And I think for me, it was a lot of this, whether you like it or not, this has a lot to do with gender, the question that you're asking, and like expectations as a woman and things like that. And I was fortunate enough to grow up with two relationships that were still very bonded and that I was kind of able to observe consistently, my grandparents and my parents, who were both still married. So to me, growing up, it's like, oh, I need that by this time. That's the expectation. I'm supposed to, they were married young, they had kids young, like that's what you do. And I was following right along with that path. And I don't know if, actually, Ronnie, I don't know if you know this, but I was engaged by 23, I think. I was 23 at the time. And, we're not here to talk negatively about anybody, but the best thing I did was not get married. And really after that, the fact that, I'm not married to that person and not with that person, it really was just kind of like, okay, let's reevaluate, where are we at? Who taught you this? Where did these ideals come from? And what do you actually want? What do you as a person actually want? And that's not anything I ever thought about before. And until that point, I think I mentioned in my episode previously, moving to Arizona, it's like that's the first decision I ever made just for me was moving to Arizona. And I was 20, 22, 23. So at that point, it's kind of like, what do you want as a person? Who are you as a person? And what are you looking for? And and I think asking those questions does help you to break out of those expectations, roles that, like, you're talking culturally and societally, but also I think the older generations play into those societal norms, not on purpose, but they just kind of play into them a little bit more. So it does come from parents, it does come from grandparents or whoever it is. But yeah, so I had some experiences push me back into like, wait a second, what's going on here? And I'm definitely grateful for those, but yeah, it's kind of interesting.
How about yourself, George? Where you stand with that?
I'm currently no longer in a relationship because of societal expectations. So it hurts. And it sucks because we're in a time where they say, like, oh, don't expect anything. When it'll happen. But in reality, there does get to a point where it's like, hey, you are too old for certain things. Like, you shouldn't be 50 years old living in your mom's basement off of your mom or your parents. Yeah, so it's a huge reality check, because I didn't used to see things this way until I got slapped in the face with it. So it's like, oh, even though the mouth says one thing, in reality, like the feelings and emotions see things a completely different way. And long story short, like, she just didn't feel secure in the relationship, because I don't have a set career or trajectory, even though I make money. Like, Ronnie, I work hard. I'm always working, but it's like, it's not stable. Yeah, so I'm reevaluating everything right now.
And I think that's the best thing that one can do. And my follow-up was going to be, and kind of Courtney already kind of answered this, where is it on this spectrum that you guys are prioritizing? Is it marriage? Is it kids? Is it work, your career? I could say for myself, just as I'm answering or asking the question, I'm really geared towards career and work. That's kind of where my focus is at the moment. Can I ever say it was, hey, I need to be married by this age? No. Kids by this age? I've never really, no. Kids is, we'll talk about that later, but it's really career and just having that stability. And thankfully, I had someone at a really early age when I was living my Wild Wild West life really kind of helped me see that that I must get my work and career in order, in sense, like, right, in order. And I do that with quotations intentionally, because again, it's like, what does that even mean? If what I'm doing works for me, then why else does anything else matter that's going on around me? So I want to follow up with that. We're like, where are you guys in terms of what is it that you're prioritizing at this moment?
I'm currently prioritizing myself. I was raised that you always take care of those you care about, and that's true. The flip to the coin is you have to make sure you are secure and taken care of before you can do that for anybody else. So that's where I am currently. It's like, I need to heal myself. I need to make sure I'm in order and I'm the best version of myself. And that way, those things will be added unto me. So right now, I don't want nothing. I don't want anything. I'm tired of wanting. Every time I want something, it go left.
Sounds relationship oriented to me.
Well, it's like life, you know.
Yeah.
I had a car I wanted, and I got it, and I was like, oh, I actually don't want this.
Yeah. I feel like for me it was when I think about like this question, I realize just how fortunate I am in terms of like academics and my career and things, that I've never really been in a place. I mean, yeah, when you get out of school and get out of grad school and stuff, I didn't exactly know which path I was going to go, but I've always been pretty secure with my job. I've always been pretty secure with my career. And I think it's just like the steps that I took to get into it was pretty standard. So do I focus on my career? Yeah, but you know, like while I'm doing it, right? And like while I'm working, I'm obviously very focused on my clients, but it's also, as we know at this point, I'm a therapist, and it's one of those things where you have to have really firm boundaries. So I love my clients dearly, and I'm super, super focused on them. But as soon as I leave, I'm not thinking about work. You know, like you just have to have those boundaries. So to say, am I focused on my career? Yes. Like in terms of doing well.
You have it established, I would say, though.
So it's just one of those things that I don't feel like I've ever really needed to think about more. Which again, I realize that I'm fortunate to be able to say that, but the flip side, the less positive and side of it is, and again, things that I can go into forever and ever. I've always been super, super relationship oriented, and that's not just like couple, partner, boyfriend, things like that. It's my friends I hold very, very close to me, like just honestly, and I know, of course, as a therapist, I know what it comes down to is attachment. And I know that like my attachment to other people is very, very important to me. And that's a positive and a negative thing. And I recognize that. So again, just to be completely honest, I'm for sure focused on those attachments and those relationships. And do I want to be? No. But it's something that I'm working through because I want to be able to respond the way George responded. And be able to say that I am focused on me. And people are always like, aren't you working? Aren't you doing this podcast? Just worry about those things. And I'm like, I am. That's, I'm into it for sure. I'm putting a lot of time and energy in, but when I'm not doing those things, what is my brain on? Attachments, relationships, who's around me, who can I spend time with, things like that. And I do need to get into a better headspace where it's like, no, just me and Pua. That's really what I should be worried about, is me and Pua and our quality time together and things like that. So the honest response.
Courtney, funny you say that, because you are like, I think you're really feminine because like I'm not a therapist. So this is all opinion. Like from what I've discovered, that is a strong trait of a feminine woman to be worried about relationships, because women build the community. Like women are the social of the group. So relationships are dear and important to you, in my estimation.
Yeah. I just, no, I come from more of a, and this is a topic I'd really like to be able to discuss one time on another episode is just attachment in general, because it is such a huge thing that I don't think we talk about nearly enough, and I don't think people are educated on. But attachment is, you just never know. And so and again, we don't have to get too much into it today, but just the sneak peek of it is I have an anxious attachment. So I'm going to grab onto the people around me where other people don't. And I don't think I would actually really, really enjoy looking into whether attachment and gender, sex, things like that have anything to do with each other. But I don't think, as far as I know and my information, they don't. So, because I know a lot of men who have the same, and men and boys, because I work with teens, of course, who have the same, that anxious attachment, and who reach for those relationships and have a really, really hard time when those relationships end. And again, that can be friendships as well. But I'd be very interested to see if it's gendered, but I don't think it is. I know, and like we're talking about right now, like society and culture and upbringing, there's that nature versus nurture, and the traits that you're pushed into having as a woman versus as a man, and male, female, and things like that. But in terms of just the actual attachment piece, I don't think they are, but that's really interesting. I'd like to figure that out.
So then, with that being said, Courtney,
challenge a lot with you. I would love to have more dialogue outside of this, because I think we discover a lot together.
I already have a new topic to research, so
yeah.
see.
So now, Courtney, you know where kind of, I guess, your focus is. You kind of mentioned the attachment, the relationship is where your mind typically goes to. So did you ever at some point in time say, I must have, I know you said it was kind of your upbringing, but now that you know that doesn't have to be your life, do you have like I must have it by this time?
No. I am fully, and this, I know you say I bring this up too often, and I probably do, but this goes back for me to the offense and defense, because what I'm doing when I keep saying, I know. But when I keep saying that I'm playing defense, and when I keep saying I'm not quite ready for offense yet, it's because I know that where I'm at, like the rebuilding phase for me, and I'm in that phase right now, and I know that the decisions that I'm making are not the best decisions for me. And I know that, but I'm allowing myself to do it. I'm allowing myself to just kind of sit. We talked about embrace the suck, all the things that we've kind of discussed previously. That's what I'm just allowing myself to do at that time. I've told myself things like, listen, we're not doing this in 2024. If this phase that I'm in lasts the end of the year, so be it, but we're not doing it in 2024. So I've given myself that. But in terms of like finding a partner or finding absolutely not. No, because I just know, if you're forcing it like that, I don't think it's as authentic. I don't think it's as healthy. And I know like George touched on it earlier with the whole, like, there's so much mixed messaging with like, if you'll find someone when you're not looking, and like, put the apps down, and there's so much mixed messaging with stuff like that like I don't necessarily have a phrase that I cling to, you know what I mean? But I just know that I've given myself till the end of the year to mess around with whatever I'm messing around with, like in terms of just not making the absolute best decisions for me, and then hopefully it doesn't take till 2024, but whatever. And then once I get into action, once I step into offense mode, then we'll see how that goes. But no, I don't have. Nah, it's not.
How about you, George? I know you said you're really focused on yourself. Do you have a time frame of when you must have, I guess not everything together, but whatever your vision looks like? Do you have a time frame on that?
Yeah, by 40.
Why? See, this is what's the number for?
So with me, I lose track of time, and just from my experience, it hasn't benefited me because I have the propensity to exaggerate, prolong, things of that nature. But when, if I at least insinuate to myself a certain time frame, then not necessarily like, oh, I have to do this by this exact date, but as far as trajectory goes, I may stumble along the way, but as long as I'm moving onward and forward to better myself, then yeah, I'd say by 40. Because it still takes time, just like an investment. An investment takes time.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
investing in myself.
too, and that's the best thing that's going to be the best investment. That's going to be the ROI that no one ever can ever give you back. However, I look at putting a time frame on it as unnecessary stress that you're giving yourself. That's the only reason why I stopped putting numbers to things. And it's like, hey, I'm just going to work towards this goal. I know where I'm going. As far as when I'm going to get there, how I'm going to get there, that's the least of my concerns. I know what I need to do to get there. That's it. I can't control the controllables. I can only control every single day. I can only control my actions on a daily basis. I can't control what the future holds. And the future is probably going to give me a Mike Tyson punch that I'm just not ready for. And hey, so be it. That's part of the process. That's part of the plan. As Joel Embiid would say, trust the process. And so that's why I said just that number aspect of it, as long as it doesn't give you that overwhelming stress, then hey, you can live with it. But for those individuals that that society says you must be married by your 30s, you must have kids, or at least you must be married in your 20s, you must have kids by your 30s, your career must be all figured out by your 25s. It's all BS. Because again, most people's brains aren't developed, not even men, most people's brains aren't developed until their mid-20s. So that's a whole nother conversation. I am not a scientist. I don't look into doing studies on people's brains. It's just I'm speaking from my personal experience. I didn't really start to understand who I was up until that point where I really start to pour into myself a little bit more, which is I commend you, George, for being able to say, I'm focused on myself, man. F everything else that's going on around me, because that does take a lot of power, control, and discipline to be able to do that, and especially with all the distractions we have in today's world.
True story.
Definitely. Yeah, discipline's a good word.
But you guys heard it best from us. And you can take it, you can not take it, do it as you please. If you need any advice or you just want someone to speak to, go talk to your best friends or just reach out to us on the Walk and Grow page. Do anything that you need to do to reach out and kind of get more guidance and understanding, because there's another perspective out there that may help you, may benefit you. Because again, everything we preach over here is about unleashing your power to transform your reality. So till next time, keep on applying those perspectives, education, growth, and collaboration, y'all.
And I just want to say it's been a pleasure to have me on. Oh my goodness, this is like a therapy session within itself. Like, I'm lit up on the inside right now.